Hi friends, welcome back to the channel and welcome if you're new. My name's Jess or Jeffy, and today we'll be covering the Pleasant family, which is personally one of my favourites. And I know I said that about the Broke family, but these are like my two favourite families from The Sims 2, probably from all of them, but from The Sims 2 especially, because we all know that I'm a sucker for The Sims 2. Without further ado, let's go. Okay, so this time, instead of writing it out on my computer screen, which I normally have like a script written up here, I've got it in note form. We are, like I say, we're going to do a history of the Pleasant family, and then we're going to do where they are now 25 years later. We'll start with The Sims 1, because obviously that's where in the timeline everything begins. So in The Sims 1, you can find in the family bin Jeff and Diane Pleasant, which are a married couple, and they have two children, Jennifer and Daniel, which we know as obviously Jennifer and Daniel Pleasant. But she's Jennifer Burb in The Sims 2. So Jeff is shy, he's pretty nice. He's got dreams to reach Mars, which is a little Easter egg because, oh, my nose ring, so annoying. Because at the time that they were making this, there was also like another game that was like hoping to be released called, I think it was like Sim Mars, something like that, which didn't actually get released, which is a shame because I feel like that would have been a cool game. But anyway, so that was like a little hint towards that. But that was obviously never released. Diane and Jeff aren't in love when you first start the game up, so you have to work if you want them to actually be in love. Diane is a full-time mum. She's outgoing and grouchy. She wants her family to climb the social ladder, is what it says in her bio. Daniel is a child. He's shy, messy, active and playful. And Jennifer is also a child. She's playful, active, has dreams of becoming a football star. God. You know, some days, right, I have this thing in and then it just feels wrong. Anyway, yeah, she has dreams of becoming a football star and having a football career. She is a shame, really, because she's obviously the one that has the dreams of this football career, but she doesn't end up having those later on, which I'll obviously get into. But yeah, so that's a shame. And then we move on to The Sims 2. So there's not a whole lot about The Sims 1, but in The Sims 2, the first people that we can see in the family tree are have the names Less and Kinder Pleasant. So it's like a hint to the fact that they're both grouchy Sims, and it's like another classic wordplay that Sims 2 loves to do, which I know that she's going to hate me saying this, but I'm saying it anyway, Alex. I was talking to one of my best friends the other day about The Sims 2, because she actually streams The Sims 2 as well, and she creates custom content for The Sims 4. I'll pop her links in the description box as well. You can find her. She's called Ice Cream for Breakfast. But we were talking about The Sims 2, and she was like, I've only just realised what their names actually mean, because the pleasant means that they're arseholes. Broke means they have no money, and started listing them all off. And I was like, yeah. For once. I knew something she didn't know. So, haha, Alex. But in The Sims 2, so there's those ones. The Sims 2 Pleasant family are supposed to like encompass like that traditional, perfect suburban family, when in reality they could not be further from that. The parents don't have a very good relationship at all. So we've got Jeff and Diane are dead, by the way, I forgot to say. Jennifer has moved out of the family home. Obviously, she's not living with her brother. She's married to John Burb. I'm going to cover both of those in a separate video. So I'll go into her in The Sims 2 in the Burbs video, because they're going to be in the Let's Play. But she no longer wants to be a football star. She actually wants to be in fashion. So she changed her dreams. But Daniel, so we have Daniel Pleasant. He's an adult now. His bio says that he feels guilt that his dad never reached Mars. And obviously it's because the game was never released. He works in the athletic career, which is interesting because, like I say, when they're children, it's actually Lucy that wants the football career. He married Mary Sue, and they're in The Sims 3, which we'll go on to in a minute as well. And they've got twin daughters, Angela and Lilith. They're the second richest family in Pleasantview. In Pleasantview after the Goths. And their relationship, Daniel and Mary Sue's relationship, is incredibly strained. So they aren't in love when you first start playing them, much like his parents weren't in The Sims 1. Mary is very career-driven, and she works in the politics career and appears to be like a workaholic, sort of. Daniel and Mary, they're not even friends, not even besties, which is a shame. But when you load up the game with the scripted events, usually they'll go up to each other and do a romantic interaction, then they will fall back in love. Daniel is cheating on Mary Sue with Kaylin Langarek, the maid. Classic Daniel. If he was working in business, he'd be the sort that would cheat with his receptionist, and you just know that's the case. So when you, like I say, load in the game with the scripted events, you'll be playing. Kaylin will come over and ask to hang out because she'll have finished cleaning the house. Daniel's not at work, so you can choose to say yes. If you say yes and start carrying on their affair, which is what's intended, they'll maybe woohoo, and you'll get a pop-up for Mary Sue's job, which happens throughout the game. So you get opportunities and things like that, chance cards, sorry. And it will always fail. So no matter what you choose on that chance card, I think unless you ignore it, I think if you ignore it, then obviously she stays at work, but otherwise she'll get fired or maybe demoted. I'm not sure, but she usually gets fired in my games anyway. And then she will be sent home. So she comes home early and usually finds Daniel and Kaylin in the midst of passion, in the throes of it, and will be pretty pissed off, which I can't say I blame her. Like, I'd be pretty annoyed too. So she finds them. Obviously, they fall out of love. She's furious because of the furious mechanic in the game. And they aren't divorced because unless you've got ACR installed, they won't automatically divorce or anything like that. So it's up to the player to decide whether you want them to carry on their romantic relationship, try and fix their marriage, or whether they go their separate ways. Daniel and Mary Sue, neither of them have particularly good relationships with one of their daughters, but they do with the other. So we'll go on to the kids now. So Angela is portrayed as the good twin. Her name means like angel or something like that. She does well at school. She's regarded as nice, and she's generally the favored twin. So if you look back through their memories, all of her toddler skills were taught to her by her parents. She's got good relationships with her parents, and she's enemies with her sister. When you load into the game, they will always be fighting. And I don't know if this is the case for you guys, but it's always the case for me. Angela is usually the one that starts it as well. So let me know if she's the one that starts it in your games as well, because I'd be interested to know, because she always seems to start it in mine. So she is going out with Dustin Broke, who we covered a few weeks back, probably a while ago now, because I know I haven't been particularly, structured with these. But anyway, she's going out with Dustin. They don't really have anything in common, and it might be seen as a way for her to be rebelling. Personally, I don't know, maybe because she's seen as like this perfect child, blah, 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 blah. She's finding that difficult, and that's why she's rebelling. I don't know. And Dustin, her boyfriend, is enemies with her dad. So that's what makes me think it's because she's trying to rebel. What she's trying to rebel from, I don't know. She's got a pretty pink bedroom. She's got a computer. She's given everything she wants. Her parents love her. Her parents tried to give her the best start in life. But is she nice to her sister that wasn't given that? No, she's not. And why is that, Angela? Why? Then we go on to Lilith, who's my favourite. We have an emote of her on the channel. She's our love emote. I feel for Lilith because she was given the raw end of the stick, okay? Her name literally means demon. She is quite misunderstood. She's like a spider. She's misunderstood. She's the less favoured one, like I say. She wasn't taught any of her toddler skills growing up. She's not doing very well at school, but she wasn't exactly given much of a chance by her parents because, like I say, they favoured her sister. There's two of them, but they only taught one of the kids their toddler skills and not the other one. Granted, twins might be hard, but still, what's your excuse? I just think it's crappy parenting, and I just think they're just horrible parents. They're just really awful parents. That's just my opinion. So she often will run away because she's got bad relationships with everybody in the family. If you don't work on fixing any of their relationships and they continue to deteriorate, quite often in the game she will trigger running away and then will come back just before she ages up. She's dating Dirk Dreamer, who also is very opposite to her. They were childhood friends. They don't have a whole lot in common, but in my game they do get on quite well. And personally, I think they have more in common than maybe Dustin and Angela do, just because I don't think Lilith is a bad sim. I think she was just really not given much of a chance in life at all. I don't think she's nasty. But her and her sister, like I say, are always fighting. I think it's a real shame as well that the sisters don't get on, because you would think, and there's two sides of this, and this is just me rambling and going off script now, but if you had a twin sister, right, and your parents were treating her not so nicely, I guess in some ways maybe that would rub off on you and you would think that that's the right way to act. So you can look at it from two sides and say it's not particularly Angela's fault that she isn't very nice to her sister because she is only watching what her parents have done. However, I do think you get to a certain age where you know right from wrong, and you also know that it's not okay. So I do think that there's no real excuse for Angela to still be being horrible to her sister as a teenager, because actually her sister's never really had much of a chance. And that's just my 2 pence worth. But that's their history for The Sims 2. Then moving on to The Sims 3, we have the Pleasants there. We only have Angela. No, liar. I'm a liar. We have Daniel and we have Jennifer, not Jeff and Diane. So Daniel is an adult. He's just married Mary Sue, and they are in sunlit tides on like what seems like a honeymoon. They don't have the children yet. They're really happy. Nothing bad's happened in their relationship yet. But Daniel does have the flirty and commitment issues trait. So it's a hint of what's to come, really. Then we've got Jennifer. She is with John Burb at this point. They're dating. They live in Dragon Valley and they wanted to travel the world together. And that's sort of all there really is to them too in The Sims 3. But yeah, that's the history of. Now we'll move on to where they are now 25 years later. Okay, so now moving on to where they are 25 years later. We'll start with Mary Sue, and then we'll go to Daniel, then Angela, and then Lilith, or something like that anyway. So Mary Sue, so following her and Daniel, when she found out that he was having an affair, she actually kicked him out of the house. She didn't want to work on their relationship. She had absolutely no interest in trying. So she yeeted him out of there and decided to just focus on, I would say the girls, but let's be honest, Angela and her career. So she carried on working. She progressed to the top of the politics career and ended up being able to take early retirement. And she invested that money into different stocks and things like that and bought 3 vacation homes. So one in each of the vacation worlds. Because what she decided after Angela and Lilith had gone from the house was that she wanted to spend the rest of her time traveling. So she went to Takamizu Village post breakup after Daniel for just like a little reset, and it had ignited this sort of traveling bug in her. So following her early retirement, she decided that she wanted to spend the rest of her time traveling. So she's done all of the tours in Takamizu Village. She's learnt massage, she's learnt to teleport, and she goes there repeatedly, so much so that that was the first vacation home that she bought because she loved it so much that she wanted to, I think you just got a flash of my foot then. She wanted to keep going back. So she absolutely loves it. And her main goal now is just to travel the world and see all these different places. She's got a vacation home, like I say, in every single one of the vacation worlds. And she goes basically from place to place. She'll occasionally come back to Pleasantview, but she spends more time on holiday than she does back in Pleasantview these days. After 10 years of traveling solidly, she decided that she wanted to adopt because she was starting to feel a little bit lonely and she felt like she had a lot to give to a child. Although the lifestyle maybe wasn't perfect for children, she wanted to have a child that she could home school and that she would be able to take traveling with her, which is what she did. So she adopted a toddler. While she was a toddler, she taught her toddler skills, unlike Lilith. And then when she aged up to a child, she started traveling with her. She now takes her on every single holiday. And like I say, she homeschools her. The little girl that she adopted is called Gloria. And she's a happy little thing. She's quite content. Her and Mary Sue have got a good relationship. She's got a good relationship with Angela. She knows Lilith, but she's not really had much time to spend with Lilith just yet. But she would like to. So she's trying at the moment to convince her mum to reach out to Lilith to try and smooth things over so that she can have a relationship with her because she'd quite like to. But yeah, Mary Sue's happy. She's just been spending the last 25 years traveling, and that's where she is now. She's got her little 10-year-old daughter, and she's happy, plodding along, planning to try and fill out every single experience she can possibly do in the vacation worlds. That's her plan whilst raising her daughter. Daniel. So following the breakup, she kicked him out and he went to a trailer home, which he didn't bother to renovate. He just sort of saved until he could move to a condo. He took out a big loan so he could get his condo. And instead of being sensible, Daniel decided in the midst of a midlife crisis that he was going to buy a really expensive sports car, then plunging himself into loads of debt. He has stalled in his career. He hasn't progressed. He's still the exact same level he was at when we met him at the start of the game. He's not close to being able to retire yet because he doesn't think he can afford to, because of the fact that he's been struggling with debt his entire adult life since leaving Mary Sue, because he just couldn't manage it himself. He's had strings and strings of affairs. So he, at one stage, it felt like a different woman every week, every night. And he had no intention of settling down. He carried on sleeping with Kaylin and promising her the world following everything that happened with her, and was telling her that they were going to be together. He just needed to do this and then he needed to do that. And unfortunately, Kaylin is a family sim, so she believes him and she holds a real torch for Daniel. And I will go into what's happened with her in another video, but it's a bit spoilery, so I don't really want to just yet. But yeah, Kaylin is still very much holding a torch for Daniel. One day, he's minding his own business in his house and he sees a woman walk past, and he goes outside because he's thinking, I'll have a bit of that. Thank you very much. It's time for my afternoon snack. And he introduces himself to LaShawn. They hit it off immediately and he starts pursuing her quite relentlessly because she is sort of quite adamant that she wants a relationship. She doesn't just want a fling, and he wants to get his end away, for want of a better term. So he goes with it. So he ends up sleeping with her. They start their relationship and he's not committed to her, but she doesn't know that. She's a family sim who thinks that they're exclusive. And she actually falls pregnant, which Daniel is not happy about at all. It's not what he wanted. He had no intention of having more children, and he certainly didn't want to have one with her because he didn't want to settle down. But because he feels guilty and he feels like it's what should be done, he moves her into the condo with him and proposes to her. So he's got no intention of marrying her, but he's thinking that if he proposes to her, at least that it'll keep her quiet, basically. She gives birth to a little baby girl called Eliza, and they are seemingly happy. One day, Daniel is downtown. He's gone for a spot of dinner on his own because the child was up all night crying and he didn't want to deal with it when he got home from work because he's not the most hands-on of fathers. So he's gone out for dinner and left LaShawn with the baby. He sees Kaylin and she comes over. She joins him for dinner, and then she ends up finding out that not only has he got someone pregnant, but he's had the baby. He has moved her in and they're engaged, and he kept all of this from her even though he's seen her since he's been with LaShawn. She, quite rightfully, is very, very upset and leaves, then goes home and phones the police. Because what she knows is that when Daniel was at his lowest with his debts and had the most debts, instead of wanting to try and get rid of these debts in a sensible way, he decided that he was going to steal money from work. And he told Kaylin about this. She, after a few drinks of red wine, she told him that it was a bad idea, that he shouldn't do it, but he did it anyway and didn't listen to her. So she phones the police and tells them this. He's then arrested following a police investigation, and they found that money was taken. And he is now sitting in Pleasantview jail, waiting for his court date to have his trial. LaShawn unfortunately believes him. She doesn't think that he did it. She thinks that it's like a mistake and there's no way he could possibly have done all of those things. So they're engaged. She still visits him, but nobody else really has anything to do with them. The only people that he'd really reached out to of his family was his daughter Angela, because he knew that she had money. And Angela basically cut him off and said that she wasn't going to give him any more. So he has recently written a letter to Lilith asking her to visit, but she's probably not going to. And that's where Daniel is, where he deserves, waiting for his court date. And LaShawn is at home with their little toddler, Eliza, in the condo. And that's Daniel. We'll move on to Lilith next, my favourite. So Lilith ran away from home when she was a teenager. She fell out of her parents. They treated her like crap, so she left. And she moved in with her grandparents, Herb and Coral, whose story I will also cover in another video, but she moved in with them and had a really, really happy rest of her teenage years with them up until she went to college. She sorted out her grades. She was able to get in to do the course she wanted to do because she wants to be an oceanographer. And she was fully supported by her grandparents to do them. They've got a really, really close relationship. She tried for a while with her parents, but in the end just decided it wasn't worth it because they didn't make her feel good. So she stopped bothering with them. Her and Angela still speak when they have to, but they don't have a good relationship at all. So following that, she went to college with Dirk, her boyfriend, and Angela actually went to college at the same time with them because of being the same age. And by bad luck, they ended up going to the same college and they were placed in the same halls, which caused quite a volatile environment the first year. And by second year, they ended up moving into their own place together, just her and Dirk. They were really, really happy together. They had a great relationship. He proposed to her and she said yes because she loved him. And then when they left college, they bought an apartment, or signed for an apartment, I should say. And Dirk went into the politics career and she got a job in oceanography. Their plan was to travel, to work, to save up, to eventually buy a house. But unfortunately, life had other plans and she fell pregnant as well. It was one night where they hadn't been very careful and they were sort of thinking, oh, it will be all right. And it wasn't. So unfortunately, they got pregnant. But after the pair sort of got their heads around it, they were happy in the end. And she was excited to be a mum because she wanted to give a child the life that she didn't have as a child. She wanted to show her all the love her grandparents had shown her. And she knew that Dirk would be a good dad because he was kind. So the day of the birth rolls around and there's a little surprise waiting for them in the form of 2 babies. So they actually had twin girls, and they had Pepper and Jasmine. They're called that because Pepper is a herb and Jasmine is a type of fox coral. So she named them after her grandparents. They had to move to a bigger apartment, obviously, because they didn't have the space and they didn't have the money to renovate it, but they made good friends with their neighbours, especially one called Tobias, who, if you've watched last week's, you will kind of know what's happened a bit. And if you haven't watched it, I suggest going to watch Dirk's. But basically, he fell in love with Tobias and he went and spoke to not Angela, I washed my mouth out with soap. He went and spoke to Lilith about it and she actually was really heartbroken, but she was also really happy for him because he was her best friend. They had always had like a good relationship, but there was never like major passion or anything like that. So they obviously parted and she encouraged him to be with Tobias. She then moved to a different house away from it because although they all remained close, it was still quite painful for her to see it. So her and the girls moved to a house in the suburban area of Pleasantview. She is really, really good friends with them both still, and they babysit for her and she babysits for them, and they have 50-50 custody. So Lilith isn't bitter at all. She's still quite happy for them. She's moved on and doesn't sort of she feels like she doesn't have time for grudges. Where she had such a hard childhood, she just wants to be happy and provide for her children now. So she's progressed really well for her career, and her and Dirk have worked really well together co-parenting wise so that they could both work. And she focuses really well on the girls and has taught them their toddler skills and things like that. And they are toddlers now. And she's only just starting to, but she's starting to want to date and explore her sexuality a bit. She doesn't know who she wants to be with. She wants to explore her options. So that's what she's planning to do. And she's got a little cat called Arby. And the reason it's called Arby is because in our Uberhood over on Twitch, we've got a cat with a really silly name that's Response Bucket because it was voted for by chat. And everyone really loves Response Bucket. So obviously I had to name the kid Arby. The cat Arby. That's where Lilith is. She's really happy and content and got what she wanted from her life. She's got a family that loves her. Her and Dirk are best friends, even though they're not together. She's got 2 daughters that she treats fairly, and they're both really happy. And she's just really, really happy, which is what she deserves. Okay, and then moving on to Angela. So Angela and Dustin broke up when they were still teenagers because she was pressuring him to go to university, which isn't what he wanted to do. Angela did go to university and she did psychology. She did well at uni. She had support from her mum, so she joined a sorority. She was kind of one of the mean girls on campus, to be honest. She hasn't really grown out of being a bit of a bully, if I'm honest, yet. And she does have a very high opinion of herself. So she graduated uni, she did quite well, and she got a job in the law career. She moved into a trailer home because although she wanted to have her own space, she was expecting her parents to pay for it. And when they wouldn't give her more than what she wanted, instead of going for a apartment because she felt like it made more sense to have a home, she went for one of the trailer homes, but did also convince her family, her mum really, because her dad doesn't have any money, to renovate the entire place for her. So she's got quite a nice trailer home. and is quite content there at the moment, but has big ideas for what she wants and where she wants to be. So she, like I said, she got a job in law and was working in the lower ranks, trying to work her way up. And she got paired with, so the CEO of the law firm is like the main boss, basically, is who she was working more closely with on a case, working as the assistant. They spent a lot of time in the office together, a lot of long hours together. And Angela did have a big crush on him and she wanted to be with him. He's got a lot of money. He's got the biggest house in Pleasantview. He's got a successful wife and daughters, but that didn't faze Angela. She felt like if she could have him, she would. So she decided to pursue that. And although initially he was sort of like, no, I'm married, whatever, eventually he went for it as well and they did begin an affair. Angela fell pregnant on purpose. She wanted to have a baby because she felt like if she got pregnant, he would have to marry her and leave his wife. So she, like I say, got pregnant and her plan did work because he did leave his wife. She's quite manipulative and she was able to sort of convince him almost, though it didn't take much convincing because she was the younger, what felt like safer, easier option for him. So what he didn't know was his wife was also pregnant at the same time as Angela, but she hadn't found out yet. So he kicked his wife and daughters out of the house and they moved into an apartment building, and the wife then found out she was pregnant. He still divorced her. He doesn't see the girls, unfortunately. Occasionally he'll send them money, but that's the extent of it. Angela, this doesn't bother her in the slightest because she wants him to focus on her and her kid. She wants the money for themselves, so she doesn't particularly like that he even sends money to the other family. They obviously now live in the biggest home in Pleasantview together, and Angela's plan is just to keep on popping out babies and be a stay-at-home mum. What she doesn't know is that he's pretty smitten with Angela at the moment, but what she doesn't know is he has been assigned a new assistant who is also young, who is also quite talented and wants to work her way up. And Angela doesn't know at the moment whether she should be threatened or not. Nothing's happened as of yet, but she's sort of unsure of whether it will. But she's sort of in the mindset that she doesn't think it will because she thinks that he sees her as the best thing that could have ever happened to him, and she's completely secure. What he doesn't know is that Angela is actually the one that's got her eye on somebody else. So she's got her eye on their gardener, and she is bored at home. She thought that she got everything she wanted, this big house, all this money. She can have children and not really have to worry about anything. She can go shopping when she wants. She can go off on holidays when she wants because she pops quite regularly to Tweaky Island and will go for little spa breaks and leave the children with nannies. She's got essentially what she wanted, but she's still not happy. So she's got her eye on the gardener and is hoping that he'll bring a little bit of spice to her life. So whether she acts on that, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But that's where Angela is now. She's spent a long time trying to get to where she is, in the sense of having the big house, having the successful husband and all the money and things. Her dad would write to her periodically while he's been in prison, but she's ignoring him at the moment. He did get a lot of money out of her at one stage. She was giving him money, but she stopped and she doesn't see him anymore. Lilith and Angela talk when they have to, but Angela doesn't make any effort and has never apologized and is still just a bit of a mean girl. So we'll have to see if she ends up having the affair with the gardener, if it impacts their marriage, and whether or not her husband wises up and realizes that she's a bit of an arsehole. Although he is as well. He's pretty horrible. They're kind of a match made in heaven, really, because although she has been quite manipulative, he's also just sort of sacked his children off and he's not really bothered. He dropped his wife at like the drop of a hat and isn't a particularly nice person either, so they probably deserve each other, really. And that's where the Pleasants are. I'm really excited to carry on playing them. I love the Pleasants, and I've kind of been trying to set it up for maximum drama, if I'm honest, because I know exactly, well, I say exactly, I've got a very good idea of what I want to happen with them, and I'm pretty excited for it. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to be smooth sailing for any of them. The only one that it might be is Lilith, and I think that's because I'm biased. With Mary Sue at the moment, it all appears calm on the surface and like everything's going swimmingly, but you'll have to find out and see if that's actually the case when we hop into the gameplay. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you want to watch the next one, please subscribe and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Tell me about your favorite Sims in the comment box. I stream over on Twitch as well 4 times a week. So every Monday we're playing our Uberhood, which is The Sims 2. It's completely different from what we're doing on here. Kaylin's actually a murderer in that one. And and I also play The Sims 3 or Stardew Valley on a Thursday. I play Zelda games on a Tuesday, currently Breath of the Wild. And then on Fridays, I'm doing my first ever playthrough of Skyrim. So join us, won't you? But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye, friends.